Wow. There's a lot of stuff. And one thing I think, first of all, you have to do a podcast on contempt because I don't think we've done one yet. We talked about
Yeah,
contempt.
we've talked about it here and there, but you're right.
And we haven't done one. And I think that's for people that are going to listen to that one. I think a lot of the other ones are going to seem to, come together even more clearer. But
yeah. That'd be a good one to write on because contempt and ego, they all go together. It's just such an ugly word. I've never really wanted to write on it, but
it's tough to write on it. And there's nothing positive about the contempt aspects.
Yeah.
That's what makes it. But I love that I love that you constantly reiterate the small things often because it's so true. And I think people get so caught up in this idea that, we need these big, gigantic, big gestures. And if I'm not doing this, if I'm not declaring everything for you in a public setting, then who am I really? It's like, let's take a step back. It's not that. Like, sure, that stuff is great, but if you're doing that for other people you're putting on a show. It's not genuine. And I think that gets portrayed so often more than not. People would rather see what it looks like on the outside.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, that guy really loves his wife or loves his girlfriend or loves his fiance. But then behind closed doors, that concept that we talk about all the time is, people live in the same house, but they're completely separate from each other. I just love that it's great hearing it out loud, the small things often, how true it really is.
Yeah.
Like these smallest things ever. And there's a science behind it.
There is, yeah. It has to do with the element of the bids, making bids for connection.
Yeah.
And these bids, the small things often, they can be verbal, they can be words, they can be looks, they can be things that you do, and then if you were to tie the element of the bids for Dr. Gottman to Gary Chapman's book, The 5 Love Languages, and you understand the element of that, the currency of all relationships are bids for emotional connection. And the more that you acknowledge and the more that you give and the more that you receive, every time you receive one, you acknowledge one, it's like making a deposit in the relationship bank account. And every time you miss one, it's like doing withdrawal. If you do enough withdrawals, the relationship is bankrupt. And now imagine tying that to the love languages because different people feel love and give love different ways. And have you ever heard someone say like, I just feel like you don't do anything for me. And they go, I do so much for you. Oh my God. I mow the lawn. I work on things. And the lady going, well, you don't do anything for me. That's not for me. And meanwhile, he's going, it is for you. That's all the stuff I do for you. Well, his love language of giving love is acts of service.
I see.
Where her love language may be words of praise. And he does zero of it. He never tells her anything wonderful about herself. He never compliments her. So according to her, you don't love me. But yet, according to him, I love you so much. They're speaking a different language. So imagine lining these two. Imagine learning the love language of your partner and knowing exactly what makes them tick. And then understanding the element of the bids for connection and honing in on exactly their language and doing the bids in their language. You can kick a relationship to a level that you've never seen.
Yeah, because you know what's going to keep it alive the whole time.
Oh, you can go to, it's, yeah.
I think on one of those sites, they do it. It's a not a love quiz, not to sound cheesy, but it's like Diana and I did it. I don't think it was on Dr. Gottman's site, but it was like a love language.
Yeah, it was
probably
Gary Chapman.
Yeah, it was an in-depth thing. Like we were sitting there for like 20 minutes each and we were like, wow, this is a pretty long, extensive questionnaire. But what we found was too, like what I thought was my love language wasn't.
Huh.
You know what I mean? Like I would think it was.
What do you think it was?
Like I thought it was acts of service. Like for her to do acts of service to me. And,
right.
and I was always mentally like, you're not doing this. When in reality, I was always happy when she was just like, way to go. Like, awesome.
Yeah.
And I was just like, wow, really? It's just words? Like that's what gets it. That's all that it was. But I always thought it was the act of service. You know what I mean? Where it was vice versa for her and I, like for her, I always thought it was the one and it really wasn't. It was kind of a combination of two, but one took precedence over. And I forget what it was. We did it like a year. I actually think we did it on Valentine's Day last year just to like see what it would be. But it's cool because now you could see it like in our day-to-day lives. It's certain things like that that happens.
Here's another thing, small things often, right? Just yesterday, I was taking a picture of Tiff and she gave me a look that was so awesome. I mean, it was like, oh my God, love. And I looked at the camera and you hit it and it's a second later it takes it. The camera missed it. And it was like, darn. And I wanted that slight glance that she gave me. And luckily the camera had that
live setting.
Yeah. So I went in there and I took it and I scrolled it and I got to that look. I saved that picture. I filtered it. I mean, this is small things often. It's that little look that like, oh my God. And I'm thinking, I can grab that. That's how much it meant to me. That's how much that look meant to me, that she did for me. And I'm thinking, oh my God, I actually got it. And I was able to filter it out and find it.
Mm.
Small things often. It's
It's crazy how a look carries you, can get you through like the craziest times.
mhm.
Right. I feel like Diana does that to me sometimes too. There's like a quick, she just does something and I'm like, I know
Mhm.
it sucks right now, but man, that's enough
Mhm.
for me to keep pushing forward.
Mhm.
Yeah. The small things, it's very powerful though. It's something that's intricate. And this, by the way, isn't sponsored by John Gottman, nor is this Mr. Catman. So like, we're not sitting here like, oh, by the way, you should check it out.
Mhm.
It's not it at
You
all.
should
It's
check it
just,
out though.
you really should genuinely check
Right.
it out because
Right.
it's just a cool dynamic. It adds a different layer to a relationship, one that you may have never even thought about doing.
Mhm.
And it's really cool.
I say it all the time. You can never know someone perfect. It can always get better. That's the
Yeah.
best thing about relationships. So if you think it's good today, imagine what it can be tomorrow and the next day and the next day. But the key is to know that everything that's wonderful in your life, you gain slowly over time. If it's like a big giant firework, it comes off, explodes, and it's gone. It's that slow burn that makes it so wonderful.